What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, as well as a very vocal Luca. And we're going to go back to a tune from 2001. And this is a track on a label I don't know much about, but from what I do know, it seems it was sort of a cheeky sampling label, meaning they would take samples from older tracks, like 90s tracks, and they would like have some fun with them and put them in a hard house style. So yeah, I think most of the tunes were hard house. I think almost the whole label was a white label. Ignore the sleeve. The sleeve comes from a different release. I think I actually got this in like a paper inner sleeve only. And in any case, as I said, I think a lot of the tracks play off of earlier tracks but sort of convert them into hard house bangers. This is a tune by Sergeant Sam. I think it's like Sam Thorstill or something. I saw that on Discogs. I think it's the only record I have by him. And it's a track called Syntax, which as an editor, as someone who is very involved in writing and the editing of writing and the use of grammar, I'm always amused by a tune that seems to invoke something else from my variety of interest or activities. So yeah, it refers to the construction of sentences grammatically, and ultimately the tune is listed as hard house on Discogs, but to my mind it's like in that hard house, hard trance hybrid area. It has a lot of atmosphere, it has a lot of like hard house style drive to it, but many of the sonics are indeed hard house-esque. So yeah, it's a slice of vintage hybrid hard house, hard trance from the turn of the millennium when that type of tune was maybe at its absolute peak. And it's on a label, Storm Trax, that again I know very little about, but from what I do know, it seems it was sort of like a rogue kind of label that was, you know, sampling some other things but doing remixes. And as I said, almost all of the releases that I saw on Discogs were in white label form, so I'm not sure about the distribution. In fact, there's a comment on the label Discogs page in the description that says something like, a number of the releases say that they're 200 pressings only, but that there seems to be more than that in distribution for some of the releases. So I don't actually know if these are ultra rare or just, you know, somewhat rare, but again, I got this record at a random record shop and it was fantastic. Now, as I would do sometimes just when I was bored, when I'd have a white label, I'd either do that thing where you put a Sharpie on the record, you start the turntable playing and slowly move it outward, which would create like a crazy spiral, or I would just draw other music interest on the white label. As you can see, I drew a couple of Dead Kennedys logos and then wrote, apparently amusing myself back in 2001, FAQ, F-A-H, space Q. So yes, apparently I thought that was funny like 25 years ago, but in any case, we shall forge ahead. This is Syntax by Sergeant Sam on the Storm Trax label. And as I said, we're in the sort of hard house, hard trance hybrid area with this one. $45? $33? A sort of muted kick. Great for transitioning in. Because then you know at some measure break it's just going to bring in the full kick, and at that point you kill...
No need to backtrack because we got Syntax.
At that point you kill the kick in your outgoing track. Oof. A ride cymbal.
Got Syntax.
The bass was already a bit acidic, and then this even more acidic layer rolls over it. And now these metallic, dissonant synth streaks Anecdote coming after the track, if I can remember. That Hoover has a bit of the like Commander Tom RMI sort of sound.
No need to backtrack 'cause we got syntax.
The clap on every kick drum. Like alarm or like slippery synth. And now
No need to backtrack 'cause we got syntax.
right here it's almost reminding me a bit of Nuclear Hive Running Man, which I talked about reacting to already. Still haven't done it. I'll have to do it soon.
Got syntax.
And then right here, that little bassline snarl. Reminds me of Clattered by BK. Which I also don't think I've reacted to. So much to do, so many tracks.
Have we got syntax?
Little acidy fading flourish. So yeah, it's an absolutely cracking tune. I have remembered to tell the anecdote. So again, the original period of me playing parties spanned very late 99 till about '02. Maybe there were one or two other parties I played like '03 and '04, and then I sort of had this hiatus, and then late aughties, early 2010s, I really got back into DJing with a bang, and it continues to this very day. But yes, so in that early initial period of me playing parties, I played a few dozen, and a lot of them were at the same venues. There was like 3 or 4 venues that I played multiple times. A couple of them I played a lot, which is to say the San Bernardino Masterdome and the Glass House in Pomona I played multiple times, and the Fox Theater in Pomona I played a couple times, and there were a number of one-off venues. Oh, and what was the La Casa, I think it was called? It was like this really cool venue that was like under this network of freeways. In any case, there were other venues I played that were sort of one-offs, including a few that were not even really venues per se. And one of my favorite sets I ever played was at a junkyard, or like a tow yard. It was literally like a tow yard that apparently, someone who worked there, maybe it was one of those like squat parties where you don't really have access to the place, but someone knows how to get in. You throw a party, and then you take everything with you before the light of dawn. But either way, it was in this tow yard, and the crowd was really into it. Now there was like some different styles. I think the guy who played before me was playing more like straight away, like melodic trance. I think someone played like a minimal techno style set at the very beginning of the night. And then I think I played like a midnight set, which isn't really the peak of the night. I'd say like a 1 to 2 set is the real like, main set, if you will, at least for a lot of the nocturnal ravers back in the day. But still, midnight is a pretty good set, and the crowd had grown to a few hundred people. It wasn't like a huge party. I'd say at most like 300-400 people. Either way, the crowd was really into it, so it was a really like dynamic set. Lots of people, like dancing very intensely. And because there wasn't a stage, it was literally just the turntables were set up in the middle of this like open area in the tow yard. Everyone was kind of like standing around. And I remember very distinctly that the biggest reaction I got in the entire set was when I played this track. And I remember in that main drop where like it drops and then it goes a little bit, and then you hear the sample again, got syntax, or no need to backtrack because we got syntax, and then it drops in again. The crowd went crazy. Like, I just remember a lot of people really getting into it. I had some friends that came with me, including a couple people who weren't really ravers. They were more like my punk rock friends, but they were interested to go to some of these parties, especially because I would often get like a couple guest passes. And I remember even they were like rocking out as if they were, like true ravers. So it was a memory that came to my mind while listening to this. But yeah, I love it. It's got a bit of acid. It's not like overly acidic, but it just has some like teeming acid type sounds, especially in the lower end. It has that like almost like an electronic bird type of call. I don't know what you would call it. It's sort of like a like short-term alarm, but then there's that like more persistent alarm style synth, which again has sort of a slippery sound to it, and that sounds like frantic, like we need to escape, we've triggered some alarm. And then it just has a lot of drive, a lot of energy, and those long swooping like Hoover type sounds, especially the long one at the end of the measure where it's like wow. I really do enjoy those moments. So yeah, it's just a cool hybrid tune. Again, given what I read about the label, maybe that sample comes from some like 90s hardcore tune or something, but if it does, I'm not aware of what one it is. But yeah, just a really cool track that, again, I got on a white label. Ignore this sleeve once again. I think this comes from a tune by, is it Jonas or Jonah? And it's called Shh. So yes, unrelated sleeve here, but I remember swapping some sleeves back in the day when it was like, well, this record I play more often, so I got to make sure I, protect it. And this one, as I said, I think I got only with a paper inner sleeve, so eventually I moved it to a slightly more sturdy sleeve. But in any case, yeah, it's a tune that I think encapsulates that like late 90s, early 2000s hard house meets hard trance with a bit of acid. Indeed, that reminds me, I've been meaning to react to some dynamic intervention. Mick Cree, who's known in the hard house world and the acid techno world. He's made tunes in both areas, and some of his tracks are sort of, again, in a Venn diagram of those two styles. So yeah, when I think about late 90s, early 2000s, hard trance, hard house, a little bit of acid, I inevitably think of Dynamic Intervention too. So as I said, I've referenced what, like Nuclear Hide's Running Man, BK's Clattered, and now Dynamic Intervention. I might do For One For All, which samples Samuel L. Jackson from Pulp Fiction. So yeah, lots more to react to. This is a classic tune, even if maybe a lesser known in the world of hard house. It's certainly not on the level of some of BK's tracks in terms of, you know, the ubiquity and commonplace appearance in a lot of DJ sets. So yeah, it's sort of like a hidden gem. I don't know if that's why I wrote on it. Again, I would write on a lot of my white labels, even in the modern day, you know, like the UFO, or not UFO, the Planet Techno releases from Beery's label. I'll often draw like skulls on them, so I guess that's just what I do with white labels that I've had over the years. But either way, I think it's a really cool tune. Let me know if you agree, and Luca and I will see you next time. Peace.